that we're there.
I'll put it up in the group.
Okay, hopefully I'm not seeing anything yet. Where am I? I'm not seeing me on
Oh,
YouTube.
we're on. I'll put it up in the group. Sorry. We are on.
Do you see us?
Groups.
Wait, I don't see me on Facebook. I mean on YouTube yet. So far, I just see. Oh wait, there we are. Okay, we are there. So yay, we're
Okay.
there. Sorry, everybody. It's been a long time since I've gone live. In case you can't tell, but as you know, it's Catherine and Sophia is joining, and she's sending out a notification to another group to let them know we are live.
Yes, I just posted it. So,
Okay, good.
and
Uh,
everybody should be able to see it. So,
yeah, sorry about this. This is actually very impromptu. And good morning or good afternoon, Deb. Sorry, I almost said good morning. I don't even know where I am. We were supposed to be going live on Greg's channel, but he can't get the internet. He can't get logged in. So we're hoping he can join us. And Steve Sanzeri was supposed to be joining us, and it's this is one of those days where everything goes wrong, but that's okay because Sophie and I are here and we're going to make the best of this.
we're trying.
And what we were going to talk about on Greg's channel, we can easily talk about most of that here. I did want to talk to Stephen Sanzeri about the Yosemite murders case. He actually was the bounty hunter. It's what they used to call him back then. Fugitive recovery agent, I think is what they're called now. Good afternoon or good morning, Russell. Thanks for joining. Um, for a couple of the guys that actually were probably involved, but as you guys all know, if you followed the Yosemite murders, not Stephen, I'm sorry, Carrie Stainer was the only one who was charged and in prison, I believe, for those murders. But anyway, I had a lot of questions, and because of this mix up, we just didn't get to get Stephen on. I will get him here one of these days. Hi, Nikki. Thank you for joining. Because I'm telling you, Stephen is such a great interview, and I mean, I love Sophia too. She's fantastic, but I don't want to make it sound like she's chopped liver. She's not. She's excellent. But Stephen has so much good information on the Carrie Stainer case. But we will get him eventually. And then poor Greg. Sophia, you want to let everybody know what's happened with Greg?
His internet is out right now, and he tried to load it up on his phone, but StreamYard wouldn't work for him. So we had to move over to your channel. But we got 9 people listening so far, so they
Oh,
must have found us.
yay. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This is awesome. Thank you. Um, and I hate to be those kind of people where it's like, click the like button. But could you please, if you're here, and you only if you like it though. I'm not one of those where it's like, oh, click the like. No, if you like it, please click because yeah, I've done some topics that kind of pushed me way down in the algorithm. So it would it would help.
Just a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stop begging for likes. Okay. Sophia has do you want to which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with David or do you want to start with Kiely?
We could start with David first. We
Okay.
could, and then kind of move in to the Kiely Rodni if the group wants to listen to that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Uh, so anyway, and anybody in live chat, if you have questions, please let us know and we'll be happy to answer them. Any questions in regards to the case?
And yes, Russell, it seems that Greg is actually in the Philippines. Okay, he's not, but the Philippines has really bad internet. So it appears that maybe Greg's there on vacation. But yeah, no internet for Greg.
I
Oh,
wonder if
darn.
they're getting a storm on his side of the country.
Oh, no. Oh, poor
I,
guy.
I don't know. I know that we're supposed to get a cold front soon, so uh,
And it's
So we'll
great here
see.
in Colorado. I mean, we're supposed to be getting cold. Usually by now we would have had, or we would have our first snow coming in. It's
Mhm.
like in the 70s. It's great. We have great 70s weather for the rest of the month. So yeah, weather's
Wow.
fine here. Okay. Since I have been yakking a lot, I'm gonna let Sophia start this off. And
Oh, in the hot seat already.
yes, ta-da, your turn. Go for it.
Okay, so I know that we haven't done very much publicly about the case, but we have been working behind the scenes, uh, trying to get more eyes onto the case, trying to get more information. And a lot of that is still in the works and in its initial stages. So we'll just keep it in the background. uh, Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. Kind of slid. And right now, I know that you and Greg and I are working on a book collab in regards to the case, and we're hoping to get that out at the end of the year, hopefully
January
January.
17th, on the anniversary of when their bodies were found, is what Greg was talking about.
So I've been working very hard on that and trying to get these chapters all polished up and trying to keep me from being a procrastinator because I'm horrible at that. I've been promising these chapters for a year. And I'm like, oh, writing until 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know I did that too on one of the chapters. Greg sent me, he put it through his program and he sends it back and he goes, well, there's only, some few things, but the program wasn't quite sure on some of the things you were. And then when I read it, I could just tell it was just a dump, right? When I write, I just dump. And then I didn't even go back because I'm reading it going, this doesn't make any sense at all. It took me almost all day to rewrite that chapter.
The last 3 paragraphs last night, I'm like falling asleep as I'm writing it. And I'm like, if I wait until I get up the next day, I'm not going to do this. I need to get it done. And I send it to him. I don't even know if the email made sense. I need to go back and take a look at it. But I was just like, I just got to get it out. I'm so close. And it was like over 20 something pages. So no, no, no. Go that way.
It's going to
Sorry,
be
my
a
cat.
great book, guys, when it's done. I mean, the chapters that Sophia's writing and Greg is writing. And I mean, I kind of feel like I need to step up to the plate better because these guys are like writing really long chapters and mine are like super short. And I'm like going, uh-oh, maybe I need to add a little bit more. But the difference for me is I don't want to expound too much because I am also writing a personal book. So these chapters will also be in my book, but I'm expanding and adding more. So it won't be exactly the same thing. So I don't want to duplicate the work, but at the same time, I wanted to make sure in the book that because Greg's going to get it out way faster than I will ever get mine out. And so I still want it to be enough that people will get the general idea and get the information that we're putting out there, at least for me. But, you know, trust me, Sophia's writing 20 pages. That girl's covering everything.
Yeah, I just want the person to understand exactly what I'm talking about. And with this particular chapter, it's the parallels between the scripts and the crime scene and the documentary and how there's way too many parallels for it to be a coincidence. And oh, Russell's saying that he's missing half of what we're saying
Oh, his
because his
connection.
internet keep going in and out. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Rick. I'm sorry, Russell. Maybe you can catch it, when you listen to it again. Hint, hint. We get another view that way. I'm shameless today, let me tell you.
So yeah, the parallels, my notes for that and the ones that we worked together and created, uh, it's just bullet points and it's very general, but we knew what we were talking about, especially when we recorded it for the video. And now I'm having to go through and make sure I have the actual page number and I'm writing it out in detail. And then I look at it and it's over 20 pages long. And then I'm adding extra stuff to it because I'm trying to bring the reader into how we started doing this and giving them extra information so that they know exactly what we're talking about. And it's just, I thought, oh, this will be easy. I can get this done because I've already done uh, the majority of the work. No,
No.
it's not easy. It's made it 10 times harder.
Um, well, yeah, it's like when we just recently did the video on the Blacklight report. There is so much more we still have to cover on that. It's insane how much information is in there, and I had no idea. I know Sophia had taken a really good long look at it, and she'd been talking about it off and on for a long time. But when I finally started putting together the presentation to do the Blacklight report, I was like, oh my goodness, you're not kidding. And that thing is just loaded with information. And what I walked away from when I got done, typing up the spreadsheet and getting it all together is I was really shocked because we know that the narrative is David was going into a deep depression. He was sliding in, he was withdrawing, he was doing this, he was doing that. But you see none of that in his computer work and in his computer searches. And, you compare that with the notes he was writing, and everything he was doing was searches for Gray State, the rise. There was no deep, dark dive. There was no falling into depression. He and Kamel were living their everyday lives. And that surprised me.
I don't think it was just the rise, though. I think it was also for Gray State because as I was doing the bullet points yesterday for the 2014 script,
Uh-huh.
when I got nearer to the end and I was uh, reading the script, there was a lot of the stuff, like especially the Middle East, that was being mentioned in the 2014 script. So he very possibly could have been writing another episode or something. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I had to move her
And
out of the way.
yeah, that's very true. But I know some people were pointing to like his searches on Stalin and the murders, and then there was the music, and then on his notes, which I'm going to be doing. Well, not me, Sophie and I are doing. I'm dragging her into this when she gets done. But we're going to be doing a follow-up video because I found in his notes where it shows where he has a list of these items, and then he scratches off the Stalin executions and then something
Hmm.
else which were part of those searches on the Blacklight. So we're going to show you his notes, and that was all that those particular things were the rise, but there were other things like Sophia was saying, it was Gray State, the movie, or chapters for it. So I saw nothing, and there's nothing that shows him, going into this depression that everybody says he was. It's not there at all. And Crypt Rick, I like that. Crypt Rick wrote, I wrote one page. He is innocent. Done. It's okay. We'll add that chapter
Short,
to the book.
simple, to the point, just
Hi, inside the cave. Thanks for joining. And yeah, so what else did you want to add?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, while she's
There's
thinking.
so much stuff, but a lot of the stuff I don't want to come out and
Right.
show our hand yet because some of it
Exactly.
is good stuff.
Yeah, and like she said, I mean, we're just waiting for an attorney to respond and say that they'll help, because I'm telling you, we have found things that, like I said, when I wrote to one of the state representatives, and then I contacted somebody else who used to do investigations into this, but they don't anymore, so they can't help us. But they did look at what I had and what I'd found, and these people's response is, get an attorney.
Hmm.
So that, it's like all of a sudden it's like such hope. It's like this renewed faith now that maybe somehow, some way, we'll be able to get David's name cleared and get these people to at least reopen this case. That's the least they can do. For example, when we're looking at that blacklight report and it states that the last time the root directory on the laptop was accessed was January 14th, but it was late at night, almost midnight. So the 14th to the 15th, and the bodies were found on the 17th. And accessing a root drive is a manual thing. You have to go in and type directory, or excuse me, I hope I didn't make too much noise on the microphone, but you have to type, dir and do all this stuff either in your DOS prompt, or you have to physically go into that laptop to access the root directory. It's not like it went into sleep mode, somehow it got bumped or whatever, or just automatically decides to do an update because it's running. No, no. And this is something the police knew. They had it. They've known. So who accessed that root directory on January 14th, almost 15th, 2 days before the bodies were found? It's like, that's super, super huge. Super huge.
Yeah, and we ruled out paleo. I mean, there's only so much that dog can do.
He doesn't have opposable thumbs. He can't type on the laptop.
Yeah. But it was also up on the island too. I mean, hitting the computer, turning it back on, I don't think that was a possibility for him.
Correct.
So, and we know that the police were in that house on that day. Supposedly nobody else was
Well,
in that
on the
house.
15th, there should have been nobody in there. The bodies weren't found
Correct.
until the 17th. So, especially, I think, if I remember, so please don't quote me, but I'm trying to remember what Sophia told me. So this is on me for not remembering it right, but I think it was somewhere around like 11:59 or 10:59 or something like that. It was really close to midnight when this happened on the 14th. So it was the 14th, almost the 15th. And also another thing to note that states on the Blacklight report is that it was set for auto login. And so that meant everything was saved. All you had to do was just click log in and it would pop in. So any Tom, Dick, or Harry who had, happened to have been by there could have logged into the system.
David had received several calls around that time. I'll have to
That's
see if
right.
it
That's right.
I'll have to see if it correlates with the Blacklight report and the cell phone records. That would be very interesting. So let me write that note.
Yeah, there's so much. It's like when you first look or think or, talk to anybody about this case, you think like, oh, well, it's okay. It's cut and dry. There's a 400-page report, which really is nothing. It's not that long, a 500-page report. Well, 488 pages is the most we've received. You're like, okay, that's really nothing. But when you start looking at each individual report and then how this one will support this one and how this one gives you information, then you compare it to that one. And then all of a sudden, it's like this wealth of information just starts flowing. And then you're like, how did they miss this? I mean, we're quote unquote amateurs, right? We're just doing this
Oops.
because we truly believe in the innocence of this man and we see it. So how could these professionals not see it? Was that you or your cat?
No, it was me. I shifted position and it just flopped over. Trying to figure out what I could do to keep it from ever doing that, but I don't know. I need to get a better setup. I'm working on it. Uh, there. Um, let's see what else. Darn it. We know that the Black Light report basically showed that he wasn't spiraling into darkness. He wasn't searching occult satanic stuff or anything like that that the narrative had stated. He wasn't, you couldn't tell if he was depressed by his searches. It really just showed that he was doing research, and that was basically it. And I mean, he's doing research. I'm assuming it's for the rise that he's about to release on the first of the year. And then it's very possible he could have been writing the second part or the next episode, even, or going back and polishing up the first one. And if this man had been thinking, just screw it, I'm just going to go kill myself and my family, why is he doing that? Why is he working on the documentary and in the scripts? I don't understand. It's like wasted effort. But and uh,
You
Rick
want to
says,
read what Rick just said?
yeah, I stumbled on a channel here last night called Historic Research, who did a video on this case. Have you seen it?
I
No, I
haven't
haven't
heard.
seen it, but I'll take a screenshot of that and I'll go check it out later.
No,
Thank you,
thanks.
Rick.
Yeah, thanks. It's everybody and anybody who's going to do any kind of video on this case is like, please, let's keep getting this out there. Oh, so from
Yeah,
7 years ago, but hey, that's still good. Maybe we could, if there's still a viable channel, maybe they might be
correct.
willing to revisit it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Check it out. Take a look at, see what they have.
yeah.
Um, and as you were talking about the black light report and how they missed the, what did you call it? The root file,
The accessed, yes, the root file
the
was
access,
accessed.
and how they possibly could have missed that. And, you know, I just have to wonder, is it some type of a cover up? Is it some type of corruption that's going on in the case? And a lot of people in the past have said police departments don't function that way. This is only on TV that you see stuff like this happening. But in reality, there's been numerous documentaries put out where corruption in small towns, corruption in certain parts of the country is very high when it comes to police departments, sheriff's departments, and even state police. It is an ongoing situation. And in fact, I'm seeing it again in the Kiely Rodni case.
Hmm.
So much so, and it's not just me. This is uh, there's been polls taken before the police report came out. After, well, it's not really a police report. It's just kind of like a general report in the autopsy summary. Before it even came out, many people were like, it's going to be ruled an accident. And we know this because it's quote unquote the Truckee way. And there is a documentary on YouTube called Everyone Counts. I can send you the link so you could put it in the description if you'd like, so the viewers can watch it. And basically, it's talking about numerous deaths that happened in this county in a short amount of time. Now, this county is it's in the northern end of California. It's Truckee and then a couple other towns that are surrounding, and it's got Placer County and Nevada County that are all together. Yes, we will, Rick. And So this documentary covers those two counties. And within like, I think it was maybe a year and a half to 2 years, 10 people died, which was unusual because the death rate in this town was so low.
Well, and Truckee's
And
so
yet,
small, so is Placer.
mhm,
You look at those two towns, and that is a lot of deaths.
correct. And they were low on the social scale for this town. They, several of them were Hispanic, and several of them were, well, the majority of them were not not the kind of people that the upper crust would want to hang out with. They either had a drug past or had an alcoholic past, or they chose to live life on their terms, basically. And so half of these deaths, they drowned in the canals that were going throughout the town. And the other half of the deaths were because of trains. They either fell asleep on the tracks or they decided to unalive themselves. I really don't want to
Yeah.
trigger the algorithm here. And and every single one of them was ruled an accident. And when their families came forward and said no, or saying it was either accident or suicide, and these families would come forward and say, no, my son was not suicidal, or my son was a recovering alcoholic, he would not be drinking, things like that. And they had people who had been attacked either by the trains or the canals and survived. And these people fell into that category of the ones that had ended up in the canals and had died. So they were, I'm not sure I'm explaining it right. The documentary is amazing, though. Uh, and so the police just basically didn't even investigate these deaths. They just ruled it right then and there on the scene. And these families were really upset about it. They were like, my family member counts. They are a person. And they totally were being treated like they were not. And then these family members were being harassed by the police department and the DA and people in the city government because they were trying to get justice for their family member, or at least the answers that they deserved. And then they were getting harassed about it. So a lot of the people that were being interviewed in the documentary were saying that they tried to come forward, but then they got told to stay quiet, to shut up and not say a single word. It was just a lot of corruption going on. And if you really research Truckee, Placer County, and Nevada County, you will see numerous articles of corruption between, was it David Bell, Sheriff David Bell, and then a Sheriff Wu. They're just, it's like there's so many questionable things. And then deputies that they get brought up on charges eventually because they're harassing people, intimidating and stuff. And in this documentary, the fingers were pointed at the deputies for doing this and like trying to clean up the town basically of the riffraff.
Hmm.
Now, Truckee is a town that is a kind of like a ski resort vacation town. And the number of millionaires that have bought houses in that town, it it's outrageous. I mean, it's like 2/3 of I'm sorry, the kids are just going wild right now. I can hear them. I'm surprised nobody else can, or maybe you can.
No, actually
Uh,
can't hear him this time. Not like last time. Last time was hilarious.
yeah, that was I was so upset about that last time. Uh, but yeah, it's like 2/3 of the people in that town who own a residence are millionaires, and they're from the Bay City. They're from LA. These are second and third homes.
Hmm.
So yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
Truckee is
really
more of a winter town. I mean, people live there and will vacation there, all year, but it really is mainly the ski resort in a winter town. And like
sorry.
Deb says, wow, of course, who wouldn't want true answers about their family members? Sounds like they were trying to get rid of the people that don't meet the uppers standards.
Which is absolutely true. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get
No, that's
better
okay. And
situated
then
here.
Russell made a comment and said, no, anytime you have an on the spot diagnosis of what happened at a scene, one should question it. And then Deb says, sounds a lot like the indigenous women that have gone missing. Yes. And thanks to my brother, Russell, who's been talking to me about that. I'm going to be doing some research into the indigenous women. That is pretty crazy. But to get back to Kiely, it's, because I know Sophia has done so much research on this. I've done very little, but I will say what I find disturbing is the amount. I mean, everybody jumped on the bandwagon. And I mean, there are so many people doing YouTube videos, both professionals, retired professionals, laymen, and
Hmm.
people were making money off of this girl's case left and right. People going into their live streams, doing these super chats, and, you know, hand over fist, these
And
people were making money.
it was here. Can you see me?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I'm dyslexic, and this is like totally throwing me off. It was like this, just money,
Yeah,
throwing money
yeah, money, money, money.
everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And what I find disturbing now is the number of these people who are now, just because the autopsy report came back and ruled it an accidental drowning. She drowned and it was by accident. Now all of a sudden, even though
Accident.
they say on one hand, well, this just still doesn't look right. But on the other hand, well, we're going to go ahead and go with the report. Where are their cojones? Okay, this is what bothers me about people like this. And I keep writing on a lot of these people's channels going, explain the lack of fluid in this young girl's lungs. She supposedly drowned and there was no fluid mentioned. And, for comparison, again, like I said, Sophia has done a lot of research, and, we're going to do a video on just this case in a little bit, once we get done with our other things. But she brought up and sent me the autopsy report of Jean Benet Ramsey. Now, when you look at how they, when they're dissecting and, checking out that poor little baby's lungs, her lungs are filled with fluid, but yet they don't ever say she drowned. I mean, her lungs are heavy, wet, and filled with fluid. So I'm like, this little girl, that she was
Hmm.
stuck underwater one time, sometime before she died, but you never see that mentioned anywhere. But the difference being is it mentions the slight pressure on the lung or on the tissue, and fluid comes out. Now, when we talk about, you look at Kylie's autopsy, it
It's
says
not
no
that.
obstruction. The lungs are light, which one of the doctors was explaining that as they decompose, it gets lighter. But still, there is zero evidence of any fluid, not in her stomach, not in her lungs. So she drowned. And then, like Sophia has, like, she's beat the drum on this. And I'll let her explain it because it's ridiculous when you think about it. That young lady, if she was alive and awake in the driver's seat when her car hit that water, she would have had plenty of time to get out of the vehicle way before it ever sank. Because as Sophia explains, it doesn't go the it's a slow decline into the water. It is not a complete drop off. So if the car hits, and we know that it's going to hit resistance. Once it hits water, it's going to slow down. So
Hmm.
now it's got to slow. It's slowly, kind of floating and sinking. And the girl would have had plenty of time to get out of the vehicle. Sophia, you want to, because
Yeah.
you did the research.
Uh, Many people they just assume that because her car went into the lake, that it immediately hit deep water, and that's not what happened. The water has receded enough in this case because it's a reservoir and it's feeding Lake Tahoe that I'm sorry, this was bothering me. Uh, that the car, it's driving, but it's a gradual incline. As the water gets deeper, it's still a gradual incline. It is not just a drop off. It's not like it went off the bridge or went off a cliff or went off the boat ramp. She drove onto the bank of the lake, which was all gravel and very soft. So I'm surprised she didn't get stuck there to begin with. And she drove right into the water. She would have hit resistance, like Catherine said. If she was alive, why didn't she just hit the brakes at that time? If she was drunk, she still would have had enough sense in her head to say, hey, there's water coming in at my feet. Maybe I should get out of this car. Her passenger side window was down, completely down. Her back window was halfway down. The back behind the driver's side was halfway down. Yet she's found in the cargo area of her car, the Honda CRV. People have stated that she would not be able to get out of her windows because water was rushing in. Yes, that's true. If her car hadn't driven into the lake and it was a gradual decline, if her car had hit that lake and there was an immediate drop, that's absolutely true. It would have taken 40 to 60 seconds to sink with the windows open. Then it would have turtled, which flip upside down because the engine is heavier, the tires have air. So it would have turtled. And they say that the reason why she was found in the back cargo area is because she was chasing the air pocket.
Which
But the
is so
thing,
stupid. She has a
yeah,
window wide open. Why would I go chase a freaking air pocket? Makes
yes.
no sense.
So her autopsy report doesn't mention any contusions on her hands or her legs, hips, nothing. She climbed, okay, she
Supposedly. Yeah.
supposedly, if you hypothetically, she pushed her chair back, climbed into the back seat, climbed over the back seat, which I time myself doing that in my own SUV, but I could not get between the back seat and the roof because it was only like this much space.
Hmm.
And that was after I put my headrest down. I knew this ahead of time because we would put our dog back there and he could not jump over it. He couldn't get between the headrest and the other headrest either. And that's why we would do that so that he wouldn't cause havoc while we were driving with the kids. And so if our dog couldn't do it, I knew that I would not be able to get back there. But I still wanted to give it a shot. One thing that I knew was that I would get bruises
Hmm.
because I would, I mean, if you are struggling in a life and death situation, you're going to try to do anything possible to escape.
Yeah, and
So
you're
you
not
would
going to be careful.
squeeze,
You're going to move quick, fast, and try to get through. Yeah.
exactly. And it's dark and she's supposedly underwater. So you would expect to see even more bruising because she can't see
Mhm.
and she's struggling and she's scared. supposedly, hypothetically. Once again, there's no water in the stomach or the lungs, and there's no actual signs on the autopsy that we can read saying that she struggled underwater drowning. But anyway, so we don't see any contusions of her trying to break windows with her hands or anything like that. So I don't see it. I do not think she was alive when that car went into the reservoir. I don't think it was.
Yeah,
I
and
don't
there's
think she
something
drove it.
right, and there's something I really want to touch on here, like, and this is what drives me insane because they did the same thing in David Crowley's case. The newspapers jumped on a title and jumped to conclusions and ran with their story, and their story was completely untrue. And now they've done the same thing in Kiely's case, and that is where they keep talking about alcohol, THC noted in toxicology report. Kiely Ronnie's on, and so they keep saying, and they say no signs of foul play. Here lies the problem. The report clearly states. Now, I really think that this has got to be a lesson that they just need to teach in school. When the body decomposes, one of the artifacts that gives that gets broken down is ethanol. Ethanol then will be in the body fluids and in the body tissues. So when they take samples, ethanol will always be present if there's a body there decomposing. Always, 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 always. Does not mean the person's been drinking. And the one thing I will say for the ME who did the autopsy clearly states in this report that the ethanol found in toxicology was related to decomposition only. She was not drinking, had not been drinking. So all the stories about her being drunk are lies, but yet the newspapers run with it. The stories on TV and in the internet run with that she's been drinking. No, she wasn't. She had not been drinking. No
Hmm.
alcohol in her system other than decompositional changes. The next thing is they bring up the THC. Now, I tried my best to find, you know, whatever. Okay, on her toxicology reports, it shows 20 nanograms of THC. Now, I tried to see what the normal measurements are of these in tests. I couldn't really find it, but every test that I found, it's done in milligrams. Now, nanograms are smaller than milligrams. So I ran it through this when you do the math on this and you do 20 nanograms, how much is that in milligrams? Like most people, if they have a 20 milligram THC count, they're high. You're like, okay, you're kind of way high off your butt and you shouldn't be doing anything. Hers was 20 nanograms, which equates to 0.00002. 4 zeros and a 2. So you got a decimal point, you go over 4 zeros and a 2. That's where her THC level is at. Very little bit of THC. Had it been there for a long time? Was it from her smoking a pot and getting high the day before, or way, way, way earlier in the morning? Don't know. Had she only had one hit sometime an hour or two before she left? Don't know. But what we do know is it's a very small amount. So she wasn't inebriated. She was not high on pot. And this is a young girl who had told her mom, who's perfectly fine to text and say, I'm coming home. I'm going to be home. And then Sophia did the calculations for distance and figured it would take her roughly, what did you say about how long to get
About
home?
25 minutes to 30 minutes because she had to go around the reservoir to get to the lodge. They own a ski lodge or a resort kind of thing,
Okay.
and so that's where they lived on the property for that.
Okay. And see, and so if she's sending her mom a note saying, I'm going to be home at a certain time, it takes roughly 30 minutes for her to get home. So she almost would have had to have left as soon as she sent that text. She's clear. She's texting just fine. Say I'm going to be home at a certain time, which she would have, like I said, when you're looking at the time frame, she almost would have had to have gone straight from there to walk to her vehicle, to get in her vehicle, to drive home, would have taken the roughly 40-45 minutes to get home. So but my whole point was, before I let Sophia take over, because trust me, she has way more information, is that all of these so-called professionals and retirees now are all backtracking and saying they agree with the outcome of it, and they're going to go with it's an accident and it was drowning. And I keep asking them, explain the no water. There's no water. Explain to me these other things. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't high. She had no water in her lungs. How are you accepting this now? They were all gung ho when they were making tons of money to say and to hint, oh, we're going to stand by this. We're going to fight for this girl. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And now they're all running for cover. Sophia, you got anything to add?
Well, not only are they running for cover, but they've made a lot of money throughout the months from when she disappeared August 6th to up until last Friday. They made a lot of money through super chats, through people donating to their cash apps and stuff like that, buying memberships, and they all marketed justice for Kiely Rodni. And then this comes back as an accident, and they're like, okay, case closed.
Yeah, there's no justice for this young lady at all.
Yeah, especially when there's questions. Now, for Kiely Rodni, she had 88 milligrams of ethanol in her liver. David had 0.109 g grams. Is it
Yeah.
grams?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In his liver screen. Both of these were chalked up to decomposition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you decompose. The byproduct is ethanol, and it happens to
And
everybody. It's what happens to the human body.
I have to wonder if the THC that they found in her system was just a product of secondhand smoke, even because
Yeah, Deb was saying that too. Yeah.
yeah, so she was supposedly at a party, although I haven't seen photos of that or video.
Yeah, and that's really
And
interesting. Listen to this. Please tell everybody about that.
so supposedly she's leaving a party that was at Prosser Reservoir or Prosser Creek Reservoir called, and the area that they were supposedly partying at was called the Sanctuary. And for years, parties have been going on by the locals at this place. So it's well known. These kids know this area like the back of their hand. They go there all the time. They have stated that. The locals even state it. In fact, the campers complain about the kids and their parties when they're there camping on weekends and stuff like that. I've seen lots of reviews and complaints in regards to this. So it goes on all the time. And I don't know what type of threat she presented, Russell. She was only 16 years old. She was about to head off to, I think, Princeton
Yeah, college.
because she
Yeah.
had graduated early.
She was
And
accepted into she was going to be a doctor. That's how
yeah,
smart she was.
it was either Princeton or Yale. I can't remember, but she was extremely smart. The only thing I can think of is it was jealousy and or maybe payback by somebody at the party. But and I have my assumptions of who might have been in on this, but I'm just gonna keep it there. And anyway, so the party, there was, at first they said, oh, there was just a few kids. A few days later, they came out and said there was 100 kids at this party. And then as time went on, it's gotten up to 200 to 300 kids at this party. So not a single video has come forward from this party. If there was all kinds of kids there doing Snapchat and TikTok and stuff like that and joking about their friends getting drunk and recording them, why haven't we seen a single video or a single real photo? We've seen photos, but they've all been debunked. People have come forward and said, oh no, this was from a party in April, or, this isn't even a party from this year. This is a party from years back. And you can tell by the clothing that is being worn in these parties just how uh, present day they are. So it's really crazy.
And like you had stated before, and it's so true, is like youngsters, especially teenagers, if they're out at a party having fun, especially an end of the year party, they're graduating, they're posting
Mhm.
those videos, they're posting those pictures. They're going to be doing TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, they're going to be doing it all. But yet, like you said, there's not one, not even a photo, let alone a video of this supposed party.
Now, there are photos that are in the news reports and stuff like that, but these are not photos from that night.
Right.
And they've all been debunked. If you're in the Facebook groups, they all have been debunked. And I'm just like, this is the craziest thing. Was there even a party that night? Or was she set up thinking that she was going to a party, killed, and put into that lake? Now, I know for a fact her car was in that lake on the 16th of August. There has been numerous videos and of the police searches. Now, that day, the 16th, this was supposedly the ninth day that they were searching. And then later on, I think it was the 18th or the 19th of August, because she was found, I believe, the 21st of August.
Mhm.
The Alameda dive team is out there, and they're only told to look 25 feet, up to 25 feet offshore, and that's it. They couldn't go any further. Her car was 55 feet off the shore, and they were specifically told, do not look further than 25 feet. This was confirmed by an ex-police officer. His channel is called Duty Ron. While he was live a couple weeks ago, he called the Alameda dive team and spoke with the information officer from that county. And he relayed that information to Duty Ron while they were live, that they could not go past the 25 feet. That's what they were told. And her car was right there. You could see that it was right there. And nobody saw it. But when you look at the photos, you could see that there's something underneath the water. If you go back to the 16th of August, there's a news report. And I have this news report. I can send it to anybody who's listening to this video. Just text me or email me. Uh, I'll get it to you. Watch the video all the way to the end. When you see where they're searching on the reservoir, if you look off to the left-hand side, her car is right there. Take a, stop it, screenshot it, zoom in. Her car is upside down, and it had like nosedived and upside down when it turtled and finally sunk. So you will see that her tires, the back two tires and the bumper, or the fender, excuse me, wait, the back bumper is like kind of right underneath the water. It's right there. And nobody saw it. Or did they?
Yeah,
Did
there
they
you go.
see it? And they decided to keep her in there because they knew that she had died at this party. And over time, she's underwater, decomposing in 70-degree weather or 70-degree water. And after a while, decomp will just take care of any of the evidence.
And there's something, I want to draw a parallel between Kylie's supposed friends and David's supposed friends. When the Crowley family was found, you had all of them jumping on saying, oh, he'd gone crazy. He would lost his mind. He was super depressed and he's doing this and he's smoking pot and we were all getting high and drinking absinthe, blah, blah. I mean, same thing. David's toxicology report and his internet searches and all of his activities show it was all a complete lie. Kiely, you have Sammy going on the record to interviews and stuff and saying that she witnessed Kiely being drunk and she couldn't walk and couldn't, so she was going to refuse a drive home with her and all this other stuff. Kylie's toxicology report comes back and it's just a tiny bit of pot in her system. So not only was David's so-called friends lying, but now the Sammy girl, for a lack of a better term, she lied about the condition of Kiely at that party just before she supposedly was getting ready to leave. Now, what we don't know is, was it really Kiely that sent the text to her mom, or had something happened to her earlier? We don't know. Right now, we know nothing because we can't trust a thing out of anybody's mouth.
I got dinged by Facebook saying that my post for this live was spam.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. They've restricted my account because of it.
What?
Yeah. Let me read it to you. It says, the author of the post, me, and the people who manage the Justice for David Crowley family can see this post. We have these standards to prevent things like false advertising, fraud, and security breaches. Your content goes against our community standards. Again, your account has been restricted or disabled.
Well, Greg or somebody can I don't know, that is ridiculous.
It was reported as spam.
Somebody reported you then. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can probably guess who that was.
Yeah.
Geez, don't you people have something better to do? And no, we're not going to even name your name. Get lost, go away. I'm sorry. But maybe if you can appeal it and we can let them know. All we have to do is check and see that we are here.
I did send it to
Got
Greg.
that right, Rick.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
harassment at this point.
Yes. I see a lot of similarities to this poor girl and then David Crowley's family. The cases, with the way that the police they're finding a conclusion that's convenient. So they either don't have to dig in and find the answers or they're covering something up. It's the same way with the Crowley case. They rushed to a conclusion. And now this poor man is considered a domestic abuser. People slander his name all over the place. And the evidence itself proves he's innocent. Just like the evidence with Kiely, her autopsy report proves she wasn't drunk, proves she wasn't stoned off her butt. She was just a young girl trying to get home. What happened?
Correct. And when she first disappeared, people basically had not stated that she was intoxicated. They hadn't stated that she had smoked pot or anything like that. They just they assumed that she had been abducted. And so for days they were looking for her up until they found her in the reservoir. They were looking for her and saying that she was abducted. And they never,
Yeah, I
oh,
need to
sorry.
block. I'm going to block this
Yeah,
user. How do I now? Then I need to get rid of their. Okay, so how do I get rid of their stuff?
I don't know. I don't know. I just had it removed.
Yeah, I was trying to remove it. It didn't. It don't for me. It only gave me block user or put user in timeout. So did you get rid of it all? There, all of those.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm looking, and I think so. I'm going to delete. No, I hid them. So okay. Jeez. I can't stand people who do stupid stuff like that. Get out of the chat room.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, these are just bots. They're
oh, okay.
sent they're sent to your channel, you know. So it's like it's done on purpose. But, you know, we're kind of under attack. My stuff gets reported as spam. Catherine gets these weird bots in our group or our group chat. It's interesting. We must be on the right track.
Okay, you asked for it, Deb. Now you got it. Does she have to
Come
accept?
on.
I just made her mod. Does she have to
No,
accept?
she just has to make a comment.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Hot Deb, make a comment. Get your little wrench. So, anyway, we're just,
Yeah, so it says, okay. I'm still waiting to see her as a moderator because it says
yeah,
remove
she is.
moderator. Oh, okay, okay. I'm honestly, I just had mine has to catch up.
She's got her wrench now.
You're welcome.
So, I mean, they at first they just thought that she was abducted, and then once that kind of went by the wayside, they were saying, "Oh, well, she was too inebriated to drink. I mean, too inebriated to drive." I'm so sorry. I am like a little frazzled now by everything, and it- it's like, well, she was too inebriated to drive. Why did you let her drive?
Yes.
I mean, everybody failed her when it came to Kylie. It's like her friends failed her. Her
Hmm.
mother failed her. This child was 16 years old. She just got her car in July. She did not even have a driver's license. It was a learner's permit. She wasn't supposed to be out that late. She wasn't supposed to be driving other people in her car who weren't adults. She wasn't supposed to be drinking or smoking pot or whatever.
Which she
If
wasn't.
that's,
Her talk
yeah,
shows it. Yeah.
but the official narrative says that she was. So, gotta kind of add that in.
And
I
that,
mean,
yeah, and see, that's part of our discussion about this is because they are saying this, the news is saying this, but the autopsy report plainly says that it is due to decomposition, not to drinking. But yet, that's okay. They're going to ignore that, like they do in the Crowley case.
and a really interesting fact is THC shows up in Kylie's talk screen, but it doesn't show up in David's.
Nope. And supposedly David
And
was this huge pot smoker. Oh, look, he has a bong. He was cleaning it,
mhm.
and his screen is.
And Kylie was deceased longer than David was.
Yep.
So kind of rules that one in our favor
Yep.
because that's what we've been saying all along. And now we have the proof of it.
Yep.
And the same type of test that was done for David was done for Kylie.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the one thing I do have to say, I did appreciate because I watched that interview with Duty Ron the other night. You had suggested, I did log off. Well, yeah, I logged off soon. But I do know that not Duty Ron, but the other gentleman, I think he worked in the medical field. I can't remember what he did.
Ed,
It could have been
was
Ed. Yeah.
is it
But
his
yes,
co-host?
yes, because
Ed.
he
Mhm.
was making the comment that he goes, even though you don't see everything that's tested, he said it's a very comprehensive test that they run when they do these autopsy reports. So all these yahoos that keep saying that they didn't do this for David and that wasn't run, yes, it was. Just because it's not written in that report you're looking at, they were run. David was not on any drugs. He wasn't on any shrooms. He wasn't smoking pot. He wasn't drinking alcohol. Same thing with Kiely. She was not drunk and she was not high off her hiney.
The type of test that they ran for David was called amino acid, not with an A, with an I. Immuno acid. I know that a certain somebody has always said that I said immuno with an A. Okay, I have really bad allergies. It might sound like I said it with an A, but it's with an I. So,
Well,
you know,
and it's also just your, believe it or not, it's your accent. It's how you talk. And if people
mhm.
are going to try to, twist your words because of how you speak and how your accent is, I ignore them.
Well, I mean, the thing is if they're just going off what I say and not actually looking at the report that I'm quoting, that's on them, not me. So,
Right. Yeah, because
yeah.
so many times, I mean, even professionals can mispronounce a word or your brain gets going so fast, you say something incorrect, but it's not what you mean, but it's what comes out.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean anything. Follow the reports. And you have said that, I don't know how you do it all the time. Don't listen to me, read the report.
Yeah, and it's right there in his autopsy report. It's right next to the talk screen, exactly what type of talk screen that they ran. And so, and it's the same thing with the Kyler Rodney case. They did that. They also sent it off to Chicago to have a more in-depth talk screen done. And so, anyway,
Yeah.
but
Well,
what
we've been
else do
on
you?
here for what, like a little over an hour now. Did you want to
Mhm.
go ahead and cut this short and we'll just pick it up next time?
Sure, that's fine with me.
Does anybody have any other questions before we go ahead and log off? Or any other comments you want to throw out there? But I do want to say thank you to everybody. Thanks to Deb and Russell and Rick. And let's see, there were several people at the beginning. I think they have since dropped off. Um, Inside the Cave, I think, was here. And there was, I'm trying to go back to see.
Nikki,
Yes, Nikki was here. So thank you all. Yeah, I can't even see your names anymore. They don't show me on the feed. But for everyone who's stuck in here and stuck with us the whole time, thank you for being here. Um, Hopefully we'll be able to do this again since with Sophia's help, I figured out how to go live. And yeah, thanks, Deb.
even
I hope you get some rest, Russell. Any last words, Sophia?
no, if anybody who's listening has some questions in regards to the information that I have for either case, I am more than welcome to send it to you. You can reach me on Facebook, or you can reach me through email. I can I can give you that information and you can put
Well,
it in
why
the
don't you in the
description.
comments section top it and I'll type it in there and then I'll pin it. So it'll be up there for
Okay.
everybody to be the first comment people see. So yeah, and just so everybody knows, Sophie and I plan on doing a lot more coverage on the Kiely Rodni. And I know it may seem like I'm late to the ball game, but I'm not. I did this on purpose. I didn't touch it early on purpose, just because there was nothing to go on, and everything was speculation. And I don't like speculation. I want to see the
Yeah.
reports, and I'll go from there. But now, and also. I believe the police said that they would be done with their investigation in November. So once they decide that they are finished with everything, we're going to go ahead and do FOIAs at that point. I believe right now it would just be moot because they're not done. It's still considered open and they'll be denied. But yeah, we are going to cover the Kiely case more just because this little girl, she's just a little girl, and she's been done a huge injustice, and it's not okay.
Yeah. Uh, I just I want people to understand that there's so much going on in regards to both these cases. And even though Catherine and I might be quiet for a while, it doesn't mean that we have stopped looking into the David Crowley case. We are always in contact and discussing this case. It just is not in public. And we are always working on this case. And so if there's something that you would like for us to work on or focus on or just even look at, we're happy to do that. Just give us some suggestions and we'll try to follow your lead on that. Uh, and I think that we can also work on other things too, like the Kylie Rodney case, because this poor girl, I mean, between her community, her family, her friends, she needs some justice. And I truly believe that she was not alive when she went into the lake. And I cannot turn my back on her at this point. She needs somebody to be speaking for her. Whether, no matter how many strikes we get, she
Right.
needs somebody to speak for her at this point because, I mean, she had such a promising future. And anyway, uh, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you listening to us today. And thank you, Catherine.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for helping me get this up and going so we could do it live today. We'll have to do more lives now. Now that I know what I'm doing, and
Hmm.
I did it well, I did it with you, but Greg wasn't here to hold my hand. So, so now
You
that
did great.
so now that we know we can do this, it's like yes, we'll do more lives. So yeah, thank you, Russell. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Nikki, and Inside the Cave.
And
Thank you,
yeah,
everybody, for being here, and those who didn't make yourselves known, but you're here listening anyway. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Have a good night.
okay. Have a good night.